What's up, everyone? Today, so I actually was in the last little while receiving a lot of questions on how do I kill this boss and how do I get that boss, and a lot of people struggling at the higher stages of Doom Tower. So today's video, and although pretty much, we got a week left, but the rotation is virtually over. I wanted to put this video out just to give some tips, strategies, techniques, maybe some champions that could work when killing some of these bosses. Now, every account's going to be different, and that's one of the cool things about Raid Shadow Legends. No two accounts are going to be the same. I started 3 free-to-play accounts at the exact same time. All 3 are at very different stages in their on the account. One account has 4 legendaries, one account has 3 legendaries, and one has 1, and that's Rhonda. So it's luck based, it's skill based, and the way you can progress in this game is really by getting lucky a lot of the time. So the cool thing is that no 2 counts are the same. The tricky thing is putting out these strategic videos on this is a team that could work, doesn't work for everybody. So what I want to do in today's video is break down the 4 Doom Tower bosses for this rotation. Just give some strategies and ideas on how to beat the boss. I'm not going to break down what they do in detail. You can read the skills for yourselves. All I'm going to do is high level, a strategy that works for me, that's the easiest strategy, and a strategy that could help you to hopefully kill these bosses. So now, arguably, this is probably the easiest rotation of the 3. Baumel with Dark Fae is probably one of the more challenging ones, and the secret rooms in the 3rd rotation are quite challenging in themselves. But this one is relatively easy in layout. So without further ado, let's get into the bosses. And we start with the Magma Dragon. So the Magma Dragon is probably one of the easier bosses. The boss hits hard. This is probably the challenge with this boss, and you cannot put burns on the boss. So between those 2 things, we can't use Ninja to dish out all of that damage. No Geomancer to reflect. This boss will put on continuous heals whenever it receives a burn. So stay away from burns. Tip number 1. Tip number 2. Try to get as much damage as you can get out in the quickest amount of time. So the longer this boss stays alive, it's going to hit, it's going to nuke hard, and you want to kill it before it hits you too much. I could probably withstand 1 hit. The 2nd hit, half my champs die. The 3rd hit is pretty much a lot of my champs are dead. And then if by then I'm not killing this boss, I'm dead. Strategy wise, bring a provoker. That's probably the easiest way to kill this boss. You provoke the boss so it doesn't do its AoE nuke. It only does its single target nuke. Bring an alternative person to revive that champion should they die via the provoke. But that's by far the easiest way. My strategy here, bring 2 counterattackers and 3 champs that dish out tons of damage. They all go once, counterattack. They all go twice, counterattack. They all go, and then the boss finally goes. So I'm able to actually get on round 1, 3 turns for each champ. Round 2, I go counterattack again. And then I'm able to get yet another 3 turns. And if I get lucky with refresh, I have my refresh back up again, and the boss does not even get a 2nd turn. So that is my strategy to go at this. My gear is quite decent, so at the end of the day, it is gear dependent. You are going to need to survive a nuke for this boss. But bring a provoker, bring a reviver, and don't bring burns, and you can withstand this boss quite easily. Second is Nether Spider. So this one is actually one of those bosses that is quite tricky and needs to bring some kind of strategy when you come in. So my team here, so the thing with this boss is you don't get to have a turn before the boss goes and before spiderlings go. So you're at the mercy of taking hits from 5 bosses and all of those poisons. So your first thing you need to do is cleanse. Mithril is great. She's free. You just got to put the work into Hydra, Helior, someone with an AoE cleanse, Raiho. Yeah, we're talking about legendaries here. But you need to try and cleanse as much as you can of the poisons. Because when the boss turns around, he's going to nuke you and destroy all those poisons and basically one-shot you. So try to get poisons cleansed. So in this strategy here, we go Mithrala opens with a cleanse. So now we are starting fresh. We're then going to go into round 2. So Duchess puts out a protection with the block debuffs as well as the increased attack. And I have 2 champs here, which I threw into. I didn't need Venomage, but we want to put somebody with heal reduction onto the boss. Because when those spiderlings go, it's going to heal the boss to full. So you do need to put heal reduction onto the boss. So bringing somebody that can do that. And then your last champion is just basically damage dealer. So I bring a Geomancer in here who I want the boss to attack me. So I make sure I hit those spiderlings with the counterattack so that the spiderlings hit us back. And that's when we're dishing out the mad damage to the boss. You can replace like a Venomage here with Bogoth. So as the boss is hitting us, we're trying to stay alive with the hits. So that is another strategy that could be employed. Third boss is Scarab King. Now, as we're into, 30 plus clan versus clan tournaments, you had to have won a handful of them. And if you're not and your clan doesn't care about them, I'd recommend getting into a clan that does focus on clan versus clan, because those blood shield accessories are huge, especially here for Scarab King. And the reason why is those blood shield accessories put on a shield onto you when you attack. And that's what you need for this boss. Otherwise, bring a champions that can shield, Miscreated Monster. Any champion that can A1 shield is also great. Or those blood shield accessories. I bring a Cold Heart in here because the Cold Heart max HP nuke in Destroy, so Cold Heart is in Destroy set, will destroy the boss's purple shield at the top, which allows you to actually get the damage through to kill it quicker. If not, then you're just basically going and dealing minimal damage, 90% reduction, just to kill this boss, which will take you forever. The other strategy, if it's not a damage dealing type strategy like I used here, this one, does work as well. Delaniana is in there just for the HP aura, but otherwise, Urost solos the boss with that A1 that puts on a shield on himself. He never runs out of shield, and then counterattacking and putting out the poisons and getting HP and basically staying alive. So that strategy does work. My other team, let's see if I still have it. I got rid of it. But my other team is Lysandra. For basically, I control the turn meter of this boss. Everyone must have Blood Shield, but I have Lysandra, Allure, and Cold Heart in there. So, but 3 champions that keep the turn meter down, and I will bring in a damage dealer as well, which helps with the wave clear, and then a 4th champion, typically an ally attacker or a second Allure. So, depending on affinity, but I'll bring in like multiple Allures and a Cold Heart and a Lysandra, 4 champions that really keep that turn meter down, and the boss will never take a turn. But for that to work, you do need a blood shield accessories on everybody. Or you bring a shielder and you tune them so that that shield champion always goes first, and that way puts out the shield on a 3-turn cooldown. It's going to have to be faster, a fast champion rather, or you bring 2 shielders and you can alternate. That's another strategy here. Ideally, you try to take that shield down as quick as possible so you can actually do the damage and it doesn't take forever. The last champion here is the Frost Spider. Basically, Frost Spider, you need to have burn on for you to at least land those debuffs or reduce the resistance. But also, when the boss dies, if it doesn't have burn on, it will revive with the spiderlings up until half HP, and you got to do it all over again. However, Lydia places that block revive. So when someone tries to revive, she will block that revive, and therefore with her passive. So therefore, when the boss tries to revive, she'll block it, and the boss can't. So therefore, you don't need to worry about the burn. The burn does reduce resistance. So if you are able to place a burn, you're able to place more debuffs. A team like this I just took with mad damage, and Lydia just prevented the revive. As I got to the later stages, I did bring a burner in here with Walking Tomb Drang, who has an irresistible burn, which is great, as well as max HP nuker and a wave clearer as well. Godseeker and Eerie kept picking up the max HP nuke in Septimus. So she'd pick him up, he'd go max HP nuke, and then pretty much turn around and die. So she would constantly pick him up with that revive, which allows all skills to come back full, which allowed that nuke to constantly be up. So that was my strategy here on 72 turns, which is pretty darn decent. So those are the 4 bosses. Those are some of the tips, tricks, strategies. You don't need to, you can look at global rankings and see some of this stuff and be like, how does this happen in 11 turns, right? Well, you got to think you got your Drex here that's ensuring the burn is out. These 2 plus her wave clear. And then ultimately, if she gets the last nuke on the boss, she's placing a block revive anyways. So if the boss doesn't have it, as long as she's getting the last hit, you're blocking the revive with that nuke and all's good. And that's why these teams are used as they are. So hopefully that helps. These teams are definitely very, very, very end game. You do need multiple of these champions for this to work, or these correct champions. But at the end of the day, Drex, as you could see, is on every team because, quite frankly, he takes a hit and has that 50% chance to put a burn out. As long as he has enough accuracy, it can work. Hopefully that helps. We'll catch you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.